I was a little bit disappointed that it was probably not organised and planned, and therefore would not get the necessary support that is necessary for such an important cause. I mean, I think we all regard it as an insult with the verdict. Okay, we weren't all there and all privileged to the evidence, but the level of evidence to which we have been privileged, we are all surprised about the verdict. Yes, indeed, as Brother Minka has said, I represent an organisation that campaign for truth and justice, and that organisation stemmed from the death of one of my children, a 14-month-old baby boy who was left to die from dehydration in a hospital casualty, and the nightmare that followed from that has led me into a legal battle for the past 20 years. That has led to me also learning the law meticulously and being able to take on the system with the law. And they, unfortunately, have no defense. In fact, we came here straight from a court today in which we put down a history of 20 years of torture. And this judge who determined the outcome of that case turned around and said, those issues, the conditions that you raise, the circumstances that you raise do not amount to a duress. Now, we talked about the death of a child, a 15-month-old baby. We talked about false imprisonment. We talked about breakup of a marriage. We talked about the suffering of our young children, etc. and a continued harassment by the state. And this judge turned around and said that those conditions you mentioned do not amount to justice. Now, the first time we appeared in court on the 30th of April with that matter, there was about 3 people in the public gallery. So there weren't, as we would expect, people there to see justice being done. However, today they had to find additional chairs, and there were 2 bums per seat in the court today, including the additional chairs that they provided. And despite the fact that the courtroom was packed out with people there to observe justice being done, they delivered an injustice. So if that sort of injustice can be delivered when we are there observing justice, then consider what more can go on when we are not there. The only way we can have an impact on the system in terms of enforcing rights and our rights is by coming together like this. We need to come together. We don't need to wait for the tragedy of Trayvon before we come together. We don't need to wait for the tragedy of Sean before we come together. We don't need to wait for a baby to die in hospital. Your cry for justice is my cry for justice. My cry for justice is your cry for justice. If we had an attitude of touch one, touch all, then the state would be more inclined to deliver justice. Look how quickly, after the so-called not guilty verdict, that the states have announced that they're going to take federal action and pursue a civil lawsuit, because they have to do something to stem the flow of emotion in the country. And if we come out with that level of emotion every time, or even before time, then they will be much more careful about maintaining justice. One of their judges previously said, if we do not maintain justice, justice will maintain us, and we are justice. We are the ones that must maintain them. And I can see the signal coming up on my left, so I'm not going to be much longer. I'm just going to say this, because there are laws which gives us the right to do things, and we must use those laws. They say ignorance of the law is no defense. It doesn't just mean, oh, you can't say I didn't know that was the law, that's why when I broke it. It also means on the other side, you can't say, oh, I didn't know it was my right to stand up in that way. Yeah? Ignorance of the law is no defense. The preamble of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states categorically and unequivocally, if man is to be prevented from having rebellion as a last resort, then his right must be protected by the rule of law. So the reverse of that, if your rights have been violated and not ensured, if you feel that your rights are not ensured by law, then you have a right by law to rebel. And one final quote. 60 years ago, a US Supreme Judge stated, "In a government of laws, existence of the government will be absolutely imperiled if it fails to observe the law scrupulously. Government is the omnipresent teacher. For good or ill, it teaches the whole people by its example. If the government becomes a lawbreaker, it breeds contempt for the law. It invites every man to become a law unto himself." Basically, it invites anarchy. Fortunately, for Campaign for Truth and Justice, we've studied the law. We understand the law. We know their procedures. We're not experts, but we know enough to go into their court and say, "You can't touch us." But the only reason that they're able to get away with what they are getting away with is because their media has conspired to remain silent. But with turnouts like this at court, they could not continue to suppress the truth. We need to come together. What we are all here today for is justice. So let's get together in a campaign for truth and justice. Thank you very much. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Well, what do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Trayvon Martin. That's the reason that we are gathered here today. But the Trayvon Martin issue should be put in the wider context of so many Trayvon Martins around the world. This is why we invited other organizations to come here, other individuals who are going through the same thing that Mr. and Mrs. Martin are going through. The Trayvon Martin case touches every human being. That's why we've got a diverse set of people here today, because people with a conscience know right from wrong. We know what is wrong, and that's why I'm asking you, whoever and wherever you're coming from, to stay with this campaign, to support the various other campaigns that are coming on. As I said, we must keep Trayvon, whatever we say today, please keep Trayvon Martin in mind. A young man walking home. Police told that, I don't even know what to call him, to leave, that murderer, to leave the situation alone. This man disobeyed the police. He disobeyed the police. Somehow they've managed to criminalize Trayvon. Amazing, I don't know. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome a great seasoned campaigner, somebody who has a long time in supporting great struggles. I'd like to welcome Brother Glenroy Watson. Greetings one and all. Thank you all for being here. I think the fact that you have managed to come out here as very short notice is an indication of your disgust, along with everybody else, about what has happened. Let's remind people that the so-called President of the United States, when Trayvon Martin was murdered, said that if Trayvon Martin if he had a son, that's what his son would look like. Well, guess what, Mr. President? They have legalized the murder of your son. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? How long are you going to stand by and watch this? How long are you going to pretend that you are in charge of any kind of justice in the USA? How long are you going to try and fool the world? And remember, this is a president in his first year where the global community, the whole world, was getting together to fight racism. He refused to go to an international racist conference. Yeah, we should have got the message then. We should have got the message then. He wouldn't go. He said he would not endorse such a conference. In other words, he wouldn't endorse the fight against racism. Well, people say they weren't shocked by the verdict in America. I think we ought to be shocked. And no matter how many times it happened, it's still wrong, and we should be shocked. People might remember Rodney King, somebody who was videotaped being beaten up. And those of you young people here who may never have heard of him, go and Google it. Go and look and find out. Rodney King. The fact of the matter is somebody had videotaped somebody being brutalized by the police. And yet you can take such a thing to a court in America and you still can't prove that what the police did was wrong. And I tell you a little secret that's now going on. People are publicizing the fact that the police responsible for the Lawrence investigation had spent quite a great deal of time and resources trying to dirty the name of the Lawrences. And a little bit behind the scene is the fact that the policemen involved were also involved in the Hillsborough disaster, whereby they spent a lot of time trying to malign and scandalize and attack poor white people who had been murdered at that football event. So there's not very far or much difference between those resources. Now if they knew that the policeman was nasty in the Hillsborough situation, why is it taking them so long to realize that same nasty piece of filth was also doing the same thing to the Lawrences?
And the other death in custody campaign.
And all the other issues that they've touched. Rather than wait for people to expose these things, if the state was just, if the state was honest, if the state was fair, they would look at every single case that somebody like that has touched. I say this because the reality is that the dishonesty in the state judicial process affects all of us. And we should be very clear on that. We've heard a lot about the campaign for truth and justice. You've heard about the family campaign. I am a member of the Railway, Maritime and Transport Union, and our union is committed to support these campaigns. Our union is committed to support this event. As soon as it was called, we were prepared and we got our people down here and our resources behind it, and we're ready to come here anytime it's necessary. Because we need to send a message to these people. And I hope when this is over, you don't just go home and feel you've done something. This needs to be followed up. This needs to be actioned by any other event and any other activity that is called around this. We will not get justice by one demonstration today. We will not get justice by simply shouting about it or writing letters. We need direct action. I'm a member of a trade union that believes in direct action. We've got to come up with ways in which we let them understand that the form of justice is not welcome. People need to stand up. People need to be prepared to take some action. We know that this citadel, or so-called fortress that they have here, if you look around and you see how it's designed and how it's set up, clearly it's not there to interact with us. So we are going to have to find ways in which to interact with them. And we have to find ways to tell them we will not put up with their style of justice. I say no more than really at the end of the day, do not be satisfied with coming here, listening to some speeches. Think of ways in which we can let the thieves, the liars, and the betrayers of justice know that their action is not acceptable. Comrade, we bring you solidarity from the Global African Congress, we bring you solidarity from the Railway, Maritime and Transport Union, and we will be with you all the time. Whenever there is a need for this type of support, we stand ready with solidarity. Thank you, comrades.
The advice they've given you, you've broken what they've given you. He has no right to shoot anybody, but all he was doing is protecting property. You're a criminal walking in a committee that's based on Caucasian people. That's wrong. You know, and really and truly, that could be any of our children. And the way we see it is you touch one, you touch all. You know, we have children. And they're just getting stronger and stronger. But you know what really makes them pay attention? When they see the community waking up, when they see us, we don't have to accept any rubbish they give us, right? But when we sit down and we say, oh, that's the end of it, accept what they've given us. They're the one who's going to give us justice. These people never give us justice. The courts are corrupt, right? What they've done, we know quite clearly, this was a murder. Look how long they took to charge the brother. And the only reason why they charged him is because the people took to the streets.
Absolutely.
If they didn't take to the streets and start burning down, tearing down with their anger, they wouldn't even get that vote. They wouldn't even hear. They wouldn't even get a court hearing. But we didn't expect that insult. It's insult after insult. We can't allow this to happen. How many more of our children will have to suffer and die at the hands of these people? These people are legalised murderers, and it doesn't matter if you haven't got a uniform. It's who you're protecting. You know, people, money was paid, money was put in their hands to show them we have no self-worth. Who they actually value? They value property. We have no value. Our young 17-year-old boys can be shot down like a dog, and people not even charged or arrested or nothing. It's wrong. So we believe we have to get up and we have to stand up for our rights. And we say touch one, touch all. We need to go out and mobilise. We need to be out here, not when the embassy's shut. We need to be out here in the daytime. So whoever else can be here in the daytime, we need to mobilise ourselves and be here in the daytime as well as in the evening. But it needs to be done. Right, that's all I've got to say. Touch one, touch all. Right? And we say no more, no more. Greetings everybody. It's really nice to see people come out, people who care about our youth, especially our male youths in the community. I just want to give you a word of encouragement from Bob Marley. He said, get up for your rights. Also, evil prevails when good men stay silent. And I'm here to say, no long will they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look. We've got to defend our youths, value ourselves and defend our youths. And we've got to be there and show them that this is not acceptable to us. So, my condolence to Trayvon's family, and we've got to be here to keep the fight going until we get justice. Greetings, family. My name's Makeda Love, and I'd just like to say, I'm so grateful to see this turnout. I mean, it could have been a little bit more. She just spoke the sentiments of what I was just about to say. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? You know, because it's real, man. It's happening right in front of our faces, like we can't see it. You understand what I'm saying? Check this. When the brother when he was actually in the court, this is the Zimmerman dude, yeah? Those bare smiles. How could you kill a child like that in cold blood and then be on trial for murdering the child and be smiling? That's got to send some alarm bells ringing in your head that we are at war. You understand what I'm saying? And then when you check it, look good, you know. Look good at what the government, your local government in this country is doing, all in the name of the crown. Yeah, we got things like cuts, austerity measures, scarcity. But when we check it in the world, forget the GM, genetically modified products that they're pushing down our throats. There is abundance. So it's just basically a case of us now waking up and what? Smelling the truth, innit? So peace and just stay strong, innit? Because yeah, it's about that.
A round of applause to Brother Cecil. Brothers and sisters, great to be with you. Let me adopt everything that has already been said, because enough good wisdom and deep thought has gone into the occasion. Let me congratulate our brother for calling it together. We're clear, are we not? One enemy, global capitalist imperialism, white supremacy. That's a common enemy. We're clear about that. And we're very clear, are we not, that Trayvon Martin and millions more Trayvon Martins are dead We know that. 3 years ago, last May, 73 or 150 or 200 plus Africans were murdered in Jamaica by the Jamaican government with the full support of the American state and army. Yes, under Barack Obama, quite right, my buddy. See, we know the connections. And a year ago, this coming 16th of August, we saw the footage on the television